here who is by family connected to Ike, and who has organised and worked so diligently and unfailingly to make this event a success. And that's Ike Isaacs, great pianist in his own right. So let me introduce Mark to speak a little bit more about Ike Isaacs and tell you more about the way the program has been organised. Please welcome Ike Isaacs.
Thank you, Peter. It's actually a pleasure to be here at Foundry616. I've known Peter for, I think, 36 years, so we've been working together. So I'm very glad we could do this special event here at this beautiful venue. This is something I've been looking forward for a long time towards. But I must immediately acknowledge a gentleman who's not here tonight. He's in Tokyo. But he really was the driving force behind all this happening, behind the scenes. He's been quite diffident, and I don't think he expects me to mention him, and it's being videoed, and he's going to see the video. And I am going to mention a man named Roger Frankham, who some of you know him, a student of Ike's and friend of Ike's. And about 2 years ago, he sent me an email and said, I noticed Ike's 100th anniversary is coming up. How about, what do you think of the idea of a tribute CD? And we took it from there, but really, Roger brought all the resources to it, and I helped as I could, and same with this event tonight. So we wish you could be here, but Roger, thank you, because you lit the fuse that started this going. Thank you. So actually, my Uncle Ike's 100th birthday would have been yesterday, but he was born somewhat west of here in Rangoon, so it's a little bit closer than the next day. Well, it's still, but we're very close to the actual birthday. And my journey with this as a nephew is just, I didn't know the regard and affection and love that Ike was held in, but it's been just, after so many years, it's just been rekindled again for me. The amount of guitarists from all around the world and Australian guitarists, because Ike was based in the UK for a long time, and then he spent his last 15 or so years in Australia. So he made a big impression in both the UK and Australia. The amount of guitarists who have brought forward their tracks and their beautiful tributes on the album, which we're launching tonight, We Like Ike. Some of the younger people here may not know the lineage of that kind of. Actually, Ike had a LP called I Like Ike in the 60s. And that saying, I Like Ike, came from Eisenhower, President Eisenhower. He was called Ike, I don't know why, and I Like Ike was actually a political slogan. So in the 60s, it was very cute to release an Ike Isaacs CD called I Like Ike. And then it was Roger's idea to call this tribute CD We Like Ike, and I think that's pretty good. Yeah. I want to quite upfront acknowledge there's a lot of people here that are connected to Ike in various ways, including family, but I hope they won't mind me singling out two, as it were, may I say, elder statespeople. Firstly, is my great joy to say that Ike's wife, Moira, is here with us tonight. She's right there. And she actually will celebrate her 90th this month. A good, clean 10 years was between them. So I'm so pleased she could come out tonight. Thank you, Moira. And the other person I want to acknowledge is a very close relative of Ike's, and a famous woman in her own right, a great cookery writer, Charmaine Solomon, who's here tonight. And she's over there. I wanted to mention those two very important people. So tonight we have an unusual night in two respects. Roger left me to curate it, and one of the things is that we don't have a drummer. Now, I've got nothing against drummers. When they're good, they're very good. When they're bad, they're very bad. But tonight, Ike was a man for intimate interpretations, which was one of his recordings, and we felt that this format would be great. Also, the people who are playing tonight, we're not going to play as a band until the very last number. You won't see us all on stage until the very end. And you're going to hear a series of solos, duos, trios, and quartets. And I'll be telling you a bit about them as we're going. So the first artist I'd like to introduce to you is Sandie White, the singer. Sandie White worked with Ike in the 50s in London and in the 80s in Sydney. Sandie, would you like to come out? Here she is. It's a little, would you like a hand, or go carefully?
I've got a couple of chairs here. This is good.
And for our first song, we thought Ike played his, as Peter said, his most high-profile gig was with Stefan Grappelli, and that was with the format of the quintet of the Hot Club of France. Well, actually, the trio of the Hot Club of France, I should have said, and that was 2 guitars and bass, which played with Stefan Grappelli. So for the first number, we're going to have 2 guitars and bass with Sandie. And I'd like to
I'm going to be a violin, yeah?
You can do it. No, you be Sandie, that's what we need. Right. It's going to be Carl Dewhurst on guitar, Dave Smith on guitar, and Brendan Clarke on bass.
Yeah.
And they're going to play for us Honeysuckle Rose.
Just talk amongst yourselves for a minute, will you? Yes. Oh boy. So happy to be here tonight. Dedicating this wonderful night to the gorgeous Ike Isaacs. When they see you out with me, I don't blame them, goodness knows. Honeysuckle rose. When you're passing by, flowers droop and sigh, and I know the reason why. Sweeter, goodness knows, you're my honeysuckle rose. Now don't buy sugar, you just have to touch my cup. You're my sugar, sweet when you stir it up. When I'm taking sips from your tasty lips, seems the honey fairly drips. Your confection, goodness knows, you're my honeysuckle rose. Sha-do-do-bop-wee-bop-wee-dop-wee-bop. Sha-do-do-bop-dwee-bop-wee-bop. Sha-do-do-bop-dwee-bop. Down, 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 down. So-dip-do-bop-dwee-bop-dwee-bop-doo. Sa-bo-bop-wee-bop-wee-bop-wee-bop-wee. Say-wee-wee-dwee-bop-wee. Sa-bop-doo-wee-bop-wee-bop-wee. Sa-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Sa-do-do-do-do-do-do. Sa-da-da-da-wee-wee-ow. Sa-boo-bop-bop-wee-do-bop-wee-do-bop-wee. Sa-boo-bop-wee, sa-boo-bop-wee. Sa-do-la-do-dwee-bop-wee-bop-a-doo-bee. Super-dee-bee-bop-bee. Sa-do-ma-ma-wee-dee-dee-bee-bee-bee. sighs with jealousy when they see you out with me. I don't blame them. Goodness knows you're my honeysuckle rose. When you're passing by, flowers droop and sigh, and I know the reason why. Sweet, goodness knows you're my honeysuckle rose. Now, don't buy sugar. You just have to touch my cup. You're my sugar. When I'm taking sips from your tasty lips, seems the honey fairly drips. Your confection, goodness knows, and you're my honeysuckle rose. You're my honey. You're my honey, honey, honey. You're my honey, a suckle rose. Thank you so much. Brendan Clarke on the bass. Carl Dewhurst on guitar. And Dave Smith on guitar. Two are leaving. Where are you going, Carl? Oh, you're going that way. Yes, right.
Well, I'm going to have more to say about those beautiful musicians who played for Sandie as they're featured throughout the night. But just a bit more on Sandie. Sandie is the real deal.
Oh.
She is the real deal.
So worried.
And right now we're going to have Sandie with a beautiful guitarist you already just heard, Dave Smith. Dave had a lot to do with Ike. They hung out like buddies around guitars, as guitarists do. And I know Dave loved Ike, and I know that Ike would be very glad that Dave, like Sandie, is here to perform for you tonight. So I'd like to introduce to the stage Dave again to sing with Sandie in the duet format.
Right. He is on the stage, yes, that's fine. That's fine. We didn't let him go, you see. And I doubt he's going to sing. You might all leave. Here's a beautiful song that can be sung in many ways. As a ballad, as a swinger, but we're kind of going to do it as a bit of a ballad and a bit of a bossa nova. Maybe I should have saved those leftover dreams. Funny, but here's that rainy day. Here's that rainy day they told me about, and I laughed at the thought that it might turn out this way. Where is that worn out wish that I threw aside after it brought my love so near? It's funny how love that rainy day is here. Maybe I should have saved those leftover dreams. Funny, but here's that rainy day. Here's that rainy day they told me about, and I laughed at the thought that it might turn out this way. Where is that worn-out wish that I threw aside after it brought my love so near? It's funny how love becomes a cold, rainy day. It's funny that rainy day is here. Should have saved those leftover dreams. Funny, but here's that rainy day. Here's that rainy day they told me about, and I laughed at the thought that it might turn out this way. Where is that worn-out wish that I threw aside after it brought my love so near? It's funny how love becomes a cold, rainy day. It's funny, it's very funny. It's funny that rainy day is Thank you. Dave Smith, thank you so much. Thank you. Where are you, Mark? Oh, you're coming. Oh, there he is. Wonderful.
Thanks very much. Wasn't that beautiful? So, right now I'm going to play some piano for you. Solo. Thank you. I'm getting my watch off. I can't play with a watch off. Just take it off. I've neglected to do it before. 1 second. I just, before I play for you, I'd just like to make a bit of a personal reflection about my uncle. I remember going to visit Ike and Moira in England when I was about 14, and I was very into classical music, as I still am. I was also into jazz by then too. And I was talking to Ike and admiring what he was doing on the guitar, and he says, "Have you got... what music have you got at home?" Beethoven. I said, "I've got a couple of the Beethoven sonatas. I learned a couple." And Chopin. I said, "Yeah, I've got one of the nocturnes by itself." And I just rattled off a few isolated things. And he sort of waved his finger at me in the way that he did. "You wait," he said. Anyway, next day he comes and, "Come and help me." He had boxes in the car. And he'd been around to all the music publishers. And there was the complete Beethoven sonatas, the complete Chopin nocturnes, the complete Chopin, and they still are on my shelf, and I'm gradually working my way through them. I won't get right through them in one lifetime, but that was the kind of guy he was. He was so generous and took such an interest in me and all the other musicians around him. Sometimes I felt that maybe because I was his nephew, he didn't want to think he was being too nepotistic, so I sort of saw that he allowed me to be in the background when it was appropriate to be so, when he was nurturing others. So this is what's been great for me, to know that so many people after, well, Ike died in 96, and here you all are, and there's probably a lot of people who wanted to come who didn't. So that couldn't give me more pleasure to know that my beautiful uncle, beautiful musician, beautiful man, and this is what everyone says, what a man, what a darling, what a generous man. And that's said by the guitarist at the very top of the tree in the world, somebody like Martin Taylor, who says Ike was his mentor. And then I'll meet a guitarist, an amateur guitarist, who plays in his bedroom. And he said, "You know, your uncle really..." I met a couple tonight, people who are not doing gigs. They play for themselves and for the people they love. And Ike just took equal interest in everybody. So I've got a composition for Ike. I've prepared to play a composition for Ike. It's a little bit tricky in the way I'm saying that, because one of the ways I like to compose in advance, but I also like to compose spontaneously on the spot. And that's the sort of composition I'm going to play for my uncle. The main reason for doing that is, even though when you write something before you can rub bits out and you get more than one chance, I wouldn't have you with me, and I wouldn't be able to create the music from what you all are bringing to it, and I will be able to hear you listening. So this is my extemporisation for Ike. lost my microphone. Oh, there it is. Oh, so kind you are. Thank you. Thank you, Graham. Well, we've come to the last song of the first set. And one thing I've noticed about guitar players, they love to play with each other. You know, they love to have a jam on the guitars. And I think as a pianist, we like it, but it needs to be arranged. We need to work out how to share the stool, and then we stamp on each other's feet trying to play the pedal. It's not very practical. It can be done, and it is done. But guitar players, they sit around the kitchen table with their instruments, and Ike loved to do that. In fact, in many ways, the diffident side of Ike, I think, even preferred to just be hanging out with guitar. But he loved to be on stage. He was on stage at Carnegie Hall with Stefan Grappelli, and he was nervous. He told me that he was nervous, but he did a great job. But I think he loved facilitating others, and his teaching and mentoring is what we're celebrating tonight. And I've mentioned Dave Smith. Dave was very close to Ike. Also, Carl Dewhurst, who we're listening to tonight. I remember there was a guitar competition called the Ike Isaacs International Guitar Competition, which ran for 2 years. And a long time ago, it probably was about 1999 or something like that. A very young man was so stunning. He took out the People's Award and the Judges Award, and it was a very young Carl Dewhurst who took out the first Ike Isaacs Memorial Guitar Award. This is probably 5 years after Ike died. And I'm glad I've touched on that, because it gives me also a chance to mention another elder statesman, may I say, who's here tonight. And that is a man, Dennis Cox, who some of you will know, who facilitated jazz on the South Coast in Kiama and was a great admirer and friend of Ike's. And Dennis put that competition together. I assisted a little bit where I could for the first couple of years. Dennis is with us tonight. He's also nearly 90 years old, the gentleman, the very dapper gentleman with the tie. A man who's made a lot of jazz happen around here, so we're very pleased he could come all the way from Kiama by train with his lovely wife Hazel tonight. So without further ado, the last item for the evening is the two guitars and bass. Carl Dewhurst, Dave Smith, and Brendan Clarke. I'll say more about Brendan later. He's a stalwart on bass. Thank you. Dave Smith, Carl Dewhurst, Brendan Clarke. That was a song called Road Song by the great Wes Montgomery, beautifully played. And I'm so glad the guys picked a Wes Montgomery tune to play for you tonight, because I got to hang with all the great guitarists. They all loved him and loved his Burmese curries. And there's a photo we've been circulating of Ike and Wes Montgomery playing together in Ike's front room, his music room. And Dave, actually, I haven't heard I didn't know there was a recording, but Dave has a tape of that occasion. And it was in the 60s, before there was answer machines or anything. And anyway, you can imagine Ike's quite diffidently probably jamming with Wes Montgomery, his idol, I think. And the phone rings. And Ike used to do a lot of commercial recording sessions at the time, and I think Moira brought him the phone. He said, I can't talk, I'm playing with Wes Montgomery. And there's this voice just came down, who? So that says it all. Thanks for playing a Wes tune, guys, it was so beautiful. And I misspoke, it's not the last song of the evening, it's the last song of the set. And I'd like to also mention that the We Like Ike CD that we're launching tonight is available at the bar if you'd like it. There's lots of great guitarists, Australian guitarists, UK guitarists. Dave's on there, Sandie's on there. I've contributed a track, and James Sherlock, Carl Orr, some Aussies that you'd know, Martin Taylor from the UK. It's a great selection, and tributes printed. I wrote some liner notes, and Martin did too. So if you'd like a copy of that, you can get it at the bar, $20. Also, as you came in, you would have heard Intimate Interpretations, which was Ike's solo guitar CD, which I actually produced with him in 1991. That was a great honour, and it was just a print run of CDs, and it ran out, and it was completely out of print and unavailable. But I'm happy to say that that is not available on CD, but that's on all the digital and streaming platforms. If you're on Spotify or YouTube or Apple Music or Amazon, any of those things, you can find Ike's solo guitar CD, Intimate Interpretations, also released for his 100th anniversary. Thank you for your beautiful listening. We've got some more selections in the second set. Thank you for these beautiful guys, and to Sandie, and see you soon.